Hey everyone, it's movie time. Get ready to dive into Avatar, The Way of the Water. If you haven't experienced the magic of Avatar 1 yet, catch it at this link before joining us. Now let's not waste any time, grab your popcorn, and let's jump right into the movie. The film begins with the main character, Jake, describing his simple and peaceful life. He is now working as the leader of Pandora, and he lives with his family. He reveals here that he and his wife, Neytiri, have 5 children. They have 2 sons, Nedium and Loek, and 1 daughter, Tuk, who lives with their adopted daughter, Kiri, and a human boy named Spider. Jake further explains at this point that Kiri is their dear friend Dr. Grace's daughter. She is the one who died helping the Navi people in their fight against the humans. If we talk about the human boy Spider here, he is left behind when the humans return to Earth after losing the war. Jake says here that the children play with each other and they care for each other very much. Even though they differ in color and body size, all the children live together as a family, says Jake. However, Neytiri doesn't like Spider because it is later revealed that Spider is actually the son of Colonel Miles. He is the evil leader who wants to destroy the Navi from this world. Spider was kept on Pandora because he was too small to take back to Earth. On the other side, Kiri has a special relationship with the Spider and she really loves him. The boy has spent his whole life with the Navi people, so he thinks he is one of them. One night, while Neytiri and Jake are talking, suddenly they see a bright light in the sky. They see some spaceships. These spaceships approach them and start destroying them. The habitat they live in completely burns with fire. As the fire spreads completely, many animals die and a group of soldiers with robot cannons appear from the spaceships and they destroy what is left of the place. Neytiri and Jake, watching from a distance, are shocked to learn that it is an RD spaceship. This spacecraft has come back to Pandora to make Pandora a colony and to build another main operations center on Earth. Later, the scene changes to a laboratory where scientists have successfully turned the Colonel into a Nova clone. In this way, all the memories of Colonel Miles and his data have been inserted into this clone. But because all these data were collected before his death, even if the Colonel knows about his life completely, he does not know who killed him and how. Here, the scientists have produced clones of other soldiers so that they can launch another attack on Pandora with Colonel Miles. As a result of this, the Colonel and his men finally decide to destroy Omaticaya and kill Jake in particular. Meanwhile, in an attempt to repel the invaders, Jake, along with the Novi forces, goes to the Ardy's rail supply line. He manages to successfully infiltrate it and steal ammo and food supplies from there. But during these operations, one of his sons, Loek, does not listen to anything, so he ends up getting hurt because of that. Jake scolds Loek at this point and tells him to be more disciplined next time. On the other hand, the Colonel meets his senior, General Ardmore. She informs him about the Novel and the flying companions known as Mountain Banshee. They are currently attacking their helicopters and have been able to disable them completely. After hearing that, the Colonel decides to travel to the place where their previous war broke out. He could get data suitable for his plan from here. Before long, he escapes into the forest with his other companions. Unfortunately, Jake's children are playing in the same forest. Just then, while checking around, the Colonel discovers his robot suit from his previous war, and his body is still inside it. All this is watched by Loek, who immediately uses a neck radio to contact his father. Jake listens to his story and Loek tells them to leave the place quietly. Jake and Neytiri rush to the forest to protect their children. But unfortunately, when Loek and his brothers try to escape from here, they are captured by the Colonel and his men. Colonel Miles takes a closer look at these children's fingers and discovers that these children are actually the children of his arch-rival. Just then, Neytiri and Jake arrive and attack the soldiers. They manage to save many of their children anyway, but the Spider cannot be saved. That boy is unfortunately taken here by evil people. Later, after asking Colonel Spider's name, he quickly realizes that this is actually his son. Back at Omaticaya, Jake approaches his wife Neytiri and tells her that she must leave this place and travel to the eastern seaboard, because he is afraid that the Spider will reveal their location to Colonel Miles' men. Jake tells Neytiri because he killed the Colonel, he will continue to be attacked by the Colonel's men as long as he stays with the tribe. Neytiri does not want to leave her beautiful home, but she knows that everything her husband says is true, so she decides to leave here with Jake. On the other hand, General Ardmore treats the Spider very cruelly. She tries to put him inside a rotating machine. They want to get information from the boy anyway. Spider is still fiercely loyal to his Novi parents and will stick around no matter what. Surprisingly, the Colonel cannot see his son like this, so he immediately stops the spinning machine because of that. Later, he comes to the General and says that he will get information in his own way. The Colonel then meets the boy alone in a separate room and assures him that he is not a bad person. And he says that he really came here to take him back to Earth. This warms Spider's heart and he finally agrees to give them the information they need. In the next scene, Jake and his entire family leave their hometown and fly away. After flying for several days, they finally arrive at a place called Metgaina. Other Novi tribes live here. The surprising thing is that the Novi living here are a little less colorful. Also, they prefer to stay in the water. They see the color of the team, including Jake, and start making fun here. Before long, Tonawari, the chief of the tribe, arrives here with his wife. They are very suspicious of Jake and his family. They also say that these guys are not fit to live in water. However, determined to save his family, Jake says they can adapt to this place very quickly. After that, he reveals here that they are being kidnapped by some group. After hearing this, Tonawari finally allows them to stay and gives them a place to stay. He tells his children to teach Jake's children how to swim, and they ask to teach them how to use their creatures to move around the water. Agreeing to that request, Tonawari's children travel to the ocean together with their friends and show Jake's children the basics. Here, Loek decides to try to connect with a sea creature, but he loses control and falls into the water. After seeing Mead, Tonawari's children laugh at him. While all this was happening, the Kiri girl had traveled deep into the sea. Surprisingly, she's adapted well to this place and can even control some sea creatures. The next day, as Kiri spends her time underwater, Tonawari's son Onung's friends come up to her and start mocking her. Because of this, Loek comes and attacks Onung. Later, when Jake finds out about this incident, he angrily orders his son to go to Onung and apologize to him, because he is the son of the clan leader. Reluctantly, Loek agrees and apologizes to him. Even though Onung forgives him in front of others, he keeps his anger inside. So to teach Loek a lesson, he takes him to the deepest part of the sea to teach him to swim. Loek is having a great time without knowing that there are sea predators in their place. After some time, Loek was fishing and a big fish was moving towards him. Loek was very scared and looked around for help, but none of his friends were there. But at that time, a fish called Payakan comes to save him. Payakan comes very fast with the help of his big head and kills this animal. Here we get to know that Payakan is really a Tulkun. Tulkun are very peaceful and intelligent beings. Thousands of Tulkuns live in the sea. Similarly, the people of Metgaina clan consider these Tulkuns as their family spirits. Payakan is the largest and most powerful of the Tulkuns. Meanwhile, Payakan rescues Loek and brings him to the surface of the water. And Loek removes an iron attached to Payakan's fin. The animal has been suffering because of this for a long time. At the end of this, the two become good friends with each other. Later, after Loek reaches land, Tonawari summons him. The leader has found out about his son's misdeeds, and because of this, he tells Onung to apologize to Loek. But this time, Loek takes the mistake alone and Onung lies that he did nothing about it. This finally makes Onung realize that the new Nove aren't really that bad. After a while, Loek reunites with his brothers and friends and explains how Payakan saved his life. But no one believes what Loek says. Instead, they reveal that Payakan is a really bad fish. Because of that, he was abandoned by other Tunkus. Spider, on the other hand, tells the Colonel about Navy's culture and takes him to Mount Hallelujah, where the Colonel chooses a mountain banshee. Although this is a bit difficult for the Colonel at first, he can quickly catch it and he flies with an animal. After a while, he gets information about Jake's location, and he quickly moves towards the Metgaina Reef with his army. After coming here, he finds the Tavunu village, and the Colonel asks them if they have seen Jake. But when they say they haven't seen Jake, the Colonel's men kill a sea creature and burn their houses. Even so, the Navilo won't say a word about Jake. As there is no other option, the Colonel decides to move to his plan B at this time. He now wants to kill a large number of Tulkuns. He thinks that if he kills these animals, he will finally be able to get Jake out. But there is actually another advantage to killing these animals. A very valuable liquid can be obtained from Tulkun's brain. This substance can extend the lifespan of people, and this 1 liter can be sold for millions of dollars on Earth. Before long, some hunters start chasing after these animals. Similarly, they attack many of these animals with trackers. We see that they kill a Fulkun mother in a very inhumane manner without any feeling, and heartbreakingly. Without knowing that their mother is dead, the baby is also with her. The humans eventually leave here, and the trackers are still on Fulkun's body. After finding out that their friends have been killed, the Metgainas are very angry and decide to attack them. However, Jake immediately calms them down and tells them about the trackers on Fulkun's body. If they are not removed, they will definitely come back and kill all these animals. As soon as Loek hears about these trackers, he leaves to inform his best friend Payakan about this. Onung and a few others join him, and after a while, they are finally able to meet Payakan. And when they pull Payakan's tracker from her, the Colonel and his men come to hunt them again. As soon as Loek saw this group, he immediately called his father and they informed him about the situation. After trying for a while, he and his friends managed to remove Payakan's tracker from her. After that, when they were hiding under the water, the Colonel's team started looking for them. Meanwhile, Jake comes to Tonawari and informs him that their children are in trouble. Because of this, he gets very upset and orders his people to prepare for war soon. Jake and Neytiri also take their weapons and quickly move toward the battlefield with all of this. On the other hand, the colonel tells his crew to attack Tunkles and find Jake's children. After searching for a while, they finally find Kiri and Tukturi, and these people are caught in a net. Loak tries his best to tear the net, but he drags them to the whaling ship with him. Soon the colonel will come here and put them on board and fry them. After that, he takes Loak's radio and orders Jake to surrender to his children without doing anything to protect them. Having no other choice, Jake agrees to his terms. Just then, Payakan sees his best friend Loak handcuffed on the boat and decides to rescue him. Finally, he comes out of the sea very fast and suddenly falls on the deck and starts shaking very fast. Due to this, many soldiers are thrown away, and Jake and Meki and his army diverts the attention of the colonel and others, so they launch their attack against the colonel and his army. They have wanted to save their children from them, and also to take revenge from them. Meanwhile, the rudder of the spider ship is broken, and due to this, the ship hits a coral reef and water starts leaking into it. Jake then has his eldest son, Medium, climb aboard the ship and free Loak and Tukturi there. Instead, he decides to save the spider they adopted. Medium joins them, and after staying for a while, they finally manage to find the spider. When they were about to leave the ship, the colonel saw this and shot them. Unfortunately, Medium gets hit by a bullet and gets seriously injured. Loak and Spider immediately take him to the beach where their mother is, but he dies here due to profuse bleeding. Neytiri cried out in pain when she saw her eldest son die in front of her eyes. Meanwhile, the colonel manages to capture Kiri and Tukturi. Then she calls Jake and tells him that both their daughters are with him. After learning this information, Jake calms down Neytiri and persuades her to come with him to save their daughters. Because of her son's death and her determination to save her daughters, she takes her bow and arrow and flies towards the flying creature's ark. Before long, Jake approaches the ship and causes an explosion on the ship. This kills some of the colonel's men, and Neytiri comes from the sky and shoots arrows at the remaining men, killing them instantly. Meanwhile, Jake finds his young daughter Tukturi and frees her. But at the same time, Colonel appears here, and he holds a knife to Kiri's neck. He then threatens Jake to drop his weapons. With nothing else to do, Jake reluctantly agrees. Meanwhile, Neytiri, who is angry with revenge, catches the spider and threatens the colonel that he will kill him. But at first, Colonel tells her that he has no connection with Spider. But Neytiri immediately drops Kiri after making a small cut on the boy's chest. At the same time, when Neytiri and her family are about to leave here, the colonel says that he will hunt and kill Jake again and again. Jake realizes at this time that the colonel will never allow him to live a peaceful life. So because of that, he decides to kill the colonel. Finally, he returns to the battlefield, and this time the two rivals use their hands to fight each other in a fierce battle. This is a very brutal fight, and we see that the two are very similar to each other. But in the end, our hero Jack wins this. He puts his hands around the colonel's neck and puts a knot on his head and knocks him unconscious here. Jake assumes he is dead and lets him drown. But unfortunately, Jake also gets suffocated here and begins to sink to the bottom, struggling to catch his breath. But just then, Loak comes to his rescue and brings him back to the surface of the water. Then Payakan picks up their entire family and travels to the beach here. On the other hand, we see that Spider pulls his real father out of the water and saves his life here. The colonel asks him to leave here with him at this time, but Spider rejects this and returns to the family that adopted him. In the final scene, we see the Jake family and the entire Metcalfean tribe burying Nenium's body at the bottom of the ocean. The plants on the ocean floor embrace him like one of them. Jake remembers the times he spent with his older son at this time, and the movie ends when he realizes that he is now in heaven with their gods. We're truly grateful you joined us for this exhilarating journey. If you found the experience enjoyable, please consider subscribing and giving us a thumbs up. Your support doesn't just benefit us, it helps others discover and delight in our content too. Until our paths cross again, take care and goodbye for now.